I think when I was reviewing episodes 1 and episode 2 of this, I was still back in my college dorm room. And literally, I'm heading back next week, so it's crazy to think about that. Alright, okay. So, this is the end of season 1 of Star Wars The Bad Batch. How's everyone doing today, guys? My name's T Codes, and yeah, this was the season 1 finale of Star Wars The Bad Batch. This was episode 16, Kamino Lost. And yeah, that title says it all. Kamino's gone. I mean, it's crazy to think about how so much came from this city, Kamino. Just all these clones that we've connected with through Clone Wars, The Bad Batch, and Star Wars Rebels with Gregor, Wolf, and Rex. But just it's crazy to think about it, because now it's just sitting at the bottom of the ocean now, as we see in this episode. Because just seeing it bombarded last week was pretty rough, but to see it actually just sink down into the ocean slowly, you see all of the tubes, the chambers that these clones would have been made in. It's just, it's just so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. But for the Bad Batch, they're not exactly focusing on the fact that their home is being destroyed. They have to actually get the heck out of there, because as we saw in the last episode, they were in the middle of this bombardment. So that's pretty much what this entire season 1 finale is, them just getting out of there. And I'll admit, it's one of those finales that you feel, you really do feel like you've come a long way for this team, for this group. I mean, they've come a very long way since the first episode. So for them to be in this situation, reflect on everything that's happened thus far, and head off into the unknown is a very interesting moment. But at the same time, I felt like, I don't know, I felt like since it was a finale, they could have added a little bit more. I mean, there is a lot here, but I just felt like there could have been a little bit more. But that's just me. That's just me running my brain through all the things that this show has been doing, and just wondering how would the season conclude after everything that's happened. So here, it's pretty solid. So yeah, so so obviously the whole episode, like I said, it's them trying to get out, but it starts with them following the bombardment, because the Empire just bombarded Kamino, and then they just watch it sink into the ocean, and then they leave. So the Bad Batch, they're stuck there, and it starts with them being split up in this corridor with the door closing. And on one side, you have Omega and a knocked out Crosshair and AZ. And on the other side, you have the rest of the team. So at first, it seems like I thought at first it was gonna be this team is split up. They have to work. Both sides have to work their way through to meet back up kind of situation. And since it was Omega and Crosshairs, I thought Omega and Crosshairs would at first seem like, Crosshairs would be annoyed with Omega, but then Omega would grow on him and then eventually convince him, or like help him realize the mistake he made. Because as much as I wanted to not think his chip was removed, rewatching the episode again, yeah, his chip was removed. I guess I was just wondering if that was maybe secretly gonna be a bluff, but it wasn't. It was, in fact, true. Crosshairs did remove his inhibitor chip, so everything he's been doing is him being him. So I was just wondering if Omega was gonna actually, convince him to to do the right thing and come with the team. And well, we don't get the split apart team up for long, because for Omega and Crosshair and AZ, the room that they're in is flooding, so Omega has to help out Crosshair, who was pinned down and knocked out, and so she does. She's able to get him free, but then with the room filling with water, the rest of the Bad Batch breaks down, is able to crack open the door so that way Crosshair's, Omega, and AZ can come in, and so they're all together, and now it's just them getting out of Kamino, and with the whole city sinking into the ocean. It's not exactly an easy task, you got to get out from the bottom of the ocean to the surface, and so they, at first it seems like it's completely hopeless, and then, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny to think about the situation they're in and just be like, yeah, how are they going to get out of this? It's like, there's no obvious answer in this. It's really just thinking about the options they have and questioning whether or not they can work. Like, there isn't a straightforward option that's like, oh, they can just do this, no problem. It's like, they could do this, and that's exactly what it is. It's so, Omega, when the team has to ironically hide out in their old barracks to figure out a plan, and so Omega sees the tunnel that they came in the last episode, so she states that they should go that way. But of course, Crosshair is super skeptical about it, because he's just like, you're letting the kid call the shots here? But of course, it's Crosshair's butting heads with everyone on the team. I mean, there's even a scene where Wrecker kind of goes at Crosshair's for, leaving them. Like, he said, if you did have a choice, then why did you stay? It's like, why didn't you come with us? We would have taken you. It's like, once he had the chip removed, he could have done that. But Crosshair's is just like, we're soldiers. We're supposed to follow orders. This is what we do. We're not the regs. We're better than them. And ironically enough, Tech actually defends Crosshair, stating that it wasn't his fault. It's what he was made for. It's what he was. And then Crosshair's like, wait, why'd you defend me? And then Tech's like, cause it's facts. But of course, facts aren't always are good things. Like, I love that. I love how Wrecker, he goes at Crosshair's head on, but then Tech goes at him with this cryptic layer of insults, because even though, yeah, he did defend Crosshair's choice, he reflected it with, yeah, it was your choice because you did this, but that doesn't mean that's a good thing. It's like, when Tech gets the good lines, he gets good lines. Like, I feel like throughout the series, I mean, it's like for everyone, because for some of these clones, like Echo especially, we grew with Echo throughout the Clone Wars series, and then there was that period of time where we thought he was dead, but then Season 7 brought him back, and then we got him as this kind of like droid human clone hybrid thing. So it makes sense that our focus is going to be on the main Bad Batch, but I mean, this show so far, it's like, yeah, obviously you had Crosshairs who defected to the Empire. You have Hunter as the leader, you have Wrecker as the brute, so of course you're going to have the comic relief be Wrecker, but then you have Tech, who is the tech guy. It's like, so it's kind of like this bizarro, or not bizarro, like Star Wars version of like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, except you have a good leader in Hunter. Wrecker being the brute, but he's also the part, he's kind of like the fun guy, and then you have Tech and Echo being like your smart tech-savvy duo. I mean, it is weird half the time, because it's like Echo's just like, what am I doing here? It's like, which is ironic, because we know how in Clone Wars, how that ended with Rex letting Echo join the team because it seems like he fit right in with them, but now it's like, has he really fit in? I mean, not. It's weird. It's weird, but I digress, because we have them walking through this tunnel underwater. You get to see just the city falling in the distance in the ocean. Of course, there's some of it falling on top of them because they're right there. But things kind of get a little intense when they have to, at first, they have to make it to one of the secret lab. Nala Say's secret lab. Finally got her name right. I mean, it took me what? It took me what? Attack of the Clones, the Clone Wars series, and 15 episodes of The Bad Batch to finally get her name right. Yeah. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm just not a good one. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so the team hides out in Nala Say's lab, where Hunter and Crosshairs, they get the rundown of what the lab is. So obviously Omega has to go through it, and they basically point out how, yeah, Omega is technically the oldest of the bunch, even though she's the kid. Which I do kind of find funny. I find that funny how, even though they're all the fully grown men of the group, she's the oldest, which is, again, it makes sense because, you know, they're clones, so they would speed up the process of growth for them because they're the ones with the desired mutations, whereas Omega was just the one observing them. And she talks about how, for a time, you know, this was the only place she was. But then when the team was made, that's when she, one, started getting like a purpose, but two, it's the real family that she had, because she was there when they were created, but they were just like her in a way, because, you know, it's like they were a Bad Batch. So it would make sense that she would really grow the connection with them right out of the gate. And so it is kind of interesting to see it like that for this. But yeah. Okay, so obviously with the team, but unfortunately for them, the power to the elevator to get back up to the ship is shorts out, so they have to figure out another way to get up to the ship. But unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be another option, so Crosshair is just like, well, that's what you get for listening to the kid. But of course, it's like, was there a better option? It's like, there really wasn't a better option than the one they had. So you got the team butting heads with Crosshairs again, and obviously Crosshairs points out the facts. It's like, you know, I had, you know, it's like, I didn't have a choice. You guys had a choice to leave me, and you did. And it's like, I gave you a choice to come back, and you didn't take it. And so it's like, you know, you got choice, you got betrayal, you got all that stuff. And then you just have Crosshairs following orders just for the sake of him, because he's loyal to the Empire and all that. But you do have a nice little moment with Omega, or I wouldn't say, It's interesting with Omega and Crosshair in this one, because the last time Omega and Crosshairs really talked with each other, you had the talk with Crosshairs and Omega, you know, all the way back in episode 1 with Crosshairs, because it's an inhibitor chip. And Omega's like, I know what you're going to do, but don't. But I don't blame you, because it's not your fault. So for Omega to talk with Crosshairs and say this, she said, this whole time I thought it was your inhibitor chip that was making you the way you are, but I was wrong. It's like, this is what you are. And so it's just like, it's like that small dagger in the side that gets Crosshairs there, because after Omega tells him that, Crosshairs is like, all right, what's the plan? What are we going to do? How are we going to get out of here? And so they figure out that the cryo tubes that are there, not cryo tubes, the cloning tubes that are there are waterproof, so they can actually just watertight. So they can, once they break the glass, they can just float up to the surface. So of course the problem is, it's like, well, there's still debris falling and we can't stay here forever, so how are we going to make sure none of the debris gets us? And so Crosshairs then states, well, you can use the droid. And so AZ can swim underwater, so he's able to guide them through. But unfortunately for AZ, his power is low. And of course, you're like, we have stakes now. It's like, you got AZ with the power low, which means you're going to have some tension. And I knew no one was going to die, but I wouldn't have minded if it was the droid that died. Like, so what happens is, you know, they blow the hole in the room, water comes in, they float out, AZ's guiding them through the debris, But then Omega gets caught in on a giant beam, so AZ has to go save her. He does, but unfortunately for them, it takes too much time, so his power goes out. But Omega seems to be in the clear. AZ says it, there's no debris, you're going to be all right. I've completed my mission of protecting you. And it seems like he's just going to power down and just float to the bottom of the ocean. But Omega is just like, no, I have to save him. And I'm like, as much as that would have been like, okay, you got to have someone die, right? Because it's the finale. It's like, it would have been a little interesting right there to leave it off with that. Because as we've seen with AZ throughout the few episodes with him, he does care about Omega. You know, he does want to help her. He does want to protect her. So for him to go out protecting her, keeping her safe, even though it costs his life, would have been interesting. But Omega gets out of her tube and swims down to try and save AZ. But unfortunately, he's too heavy and they're too deep. So as the Bad Batch, they get up to the surface and they don't see Omega. But Crosshair's being a freaking god as a sniper, shoots his grappler into the water, goes, I want to say it gotta be like 100 yards deep or something. It was far. Goes 100 yards deep. AZ right in the chest, gets AZ right in the chest with the grappler, and Omega's right there, so she's just riding AZ up to the surface. It's just like, Crosshairs is a freaking, I mean, again, it's his desired mutation to be him like a Deadeye shooter, but still, it's like, it's dark, it's an ocean. That's still pretty awesome. But yeah, so Crosshairs saved Omega and AZ, but I like Omega just saying, like, thank you for saving AZ. Like, not, like, saying, like, thank you for saving us. And then Crosshair is just like, I owed you one, now we're even. It's like, yeah, because Omega and AZ saved his life, so I guess it would make sense that Crosshair would save their lives. But still, it's nice to see Crosshairs have his little moment there with the two. But yeah, it's fun. It's also interesting, but eh. So the team, they get to the ship, and then sun rises and they look off and they just see Kamino gone, and it's just like, yeah, you still feel it. I mean, we had those scenes in the last episode, and we have this entire episode to kind of mourn the loss of Kamino, and it still hurts. I mean, because, yeah, this is such a big part of Star Wars, and like people have said, like, where did the Clone Wars really end? Did it end during Revenge of the Sith when they killed Grievous? Did they end when Anakin slayed the last of the Separatists on Mustafar? Did it end when the Empire came? Did it end during Ahsoka's time? Did it end here when Kamino got destroyed? Or did it end when Rex and that tactical droid battled it out in Rebels? Like, when did it end? So it's a moment where you say, we're truly gone from the Republic and the Clone Wars, and all that is left is the Rebellion and the Empire. And that's just crazy to think about for this series, because we had Clone Wars, and that ended on a note where it's like, you could kind of piece together what happened then. Then you had Rebels, that picked up like 15 years after Revenge of the Sith. So now we have more of this gap filled, and there's still much more of a gap to fill. So who knows how much more the Bad Batch is gonna fill. But for now, this is where we are. And for the Bad Batch, they give Crosshairs a chance to come with them, but Crosshair says nope, he wants to stay with the Empire, and he says they're gonna take over the whole galaxy, so might as well. What are you guys gonna do? Just go out? And they're like, yeah, that's exactly what we're gonna do. And it's an interesting moment with them, because on one hand, it's like, yeah, Crosshairs could have joined them, but at the same time, it's like, you didn't really feel like enough was there to have Crosshairs turn back to them. Like, at least he had the choice this time to either stay behind or go with them. And he chose to stay behind. He said he's just going to wait for the Empire to pick him up. So, interesting. But really can't think of any other way to end the first season because, you know, you started with Crosshairs in this team drifting apart, and now you have Crosshairs in the team leaving on their terms. So, who knows what season 2 will hold. But that's Star Wars The Bad Batch for now. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. And if you want to subscribe, subscribe. You don't have to. I'm just saying. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.